Welcome to Team Talk on the storyboard presentation for IDE 631, titled Correcting Military Uniform Deficiencies, Assembling and Placing Awards. Your moderator for this presentation includes Jarrett W, Shealy, and Luis Gutierrez. The purpose of this lesson is to close the knowledge gap in assembling a military uniform with the projected seat time of 3.75 hours. We hope that you find this presentation informative, useful, and answers all of your questions on how we plan to close the knowledge gap. So let's begin. Starting with the performance problem, we find that military uniform deficiencies are on the rise. Soldiers are unable to achieve the one or less uniform deficiency required to be considered proficient during the monthly uniform inspection. Based on our collective experience, the likely cause of such a performance gap is that soldiers are unaware of how to properly arrange their awards on the right side of the uniform. We consider this to be a knowledge gap, which is common amongst many new soldiers. To highlight, a high-level overview consists of providing instructional strategies of lecturing, practical worksheet exercises, and hands-on experience with assembling, simulated, and personal award rack so that soldiers can become proficient enough to overcome this knowledge gap. Content. Our lesson will consist of providing a one-day, standalone, lecture-based instruction aimed at instilling the learner with the adequate knowledge and skills necessary to properly place and align the regimental, unit, and foreign awards on their service uniforms, in accordance with AR and DAPAM 670-1. Our target audience consists of 30 new soldiers assigned to Platoon X along with their first-line leaders. Additionally, a prerequisite of this course is that all soldiers participating must at a minimum have passed basic training to understand the content presented. Moving forward to our learning objectives. At the end of this lesson, 1. The soldier will be able to assemble a unit awards rack with 100% accuracy each time by identifying the awards authorized in the correct order of precedence required. This objective will target the lower order thinking on Bloom's taxonomy. Learning Objective 2. The soldier will be able to demonstrate the correct placement of the unit awards, regimental badges, and any foreign award by identifying the awards authorized, the correct order of precedence, and the placement of the service uniform, with one or fewer deficiencies found during each inspection. The resources and facilities required to accomplish this lesson include soldiers' dress uniform, various unit, regimental, and foreign awards for practice, paper, pen, and pencil, and an air-conditioned classroom which we can reserve at any time. Here we have the design component slide to help show how we plan to align our goals, learning objectives, assessment, and instructional strategies to each other and successfully close the knowledge gap. For our goal, we aim at instructing and instilling the learner with the adequate knowledge and skills necessary to properly research and assemble their own awards on their dress uniform. Specific resources such as Army regulations and pamphlets will assist us during this lesson, as well as allow the soldiers to take with them a tangible resource that they can later use after the course. Moving on to the learning objectives. As mentioned earlier, at the end of this lesson, each soldier will be able to assemble a unit awards rack with 100% accuracy and know how to research both their authorized awards and the correct order of precedence. We plan to test this knowledge by providing each soldier with a worksheet where they will be required to numerically label the order of precedence of various awards highlighted to test what they've learned. This will be an open book assessment, allowing them to use the regulations and pamphlet provided to them. Once they have achieved 100% mastery on the worksheet, they will be able to move on and physically assemble both a simulated and a personal awards rack. This assessment aims at testing not only their knowledge as seen on the worksheet, but also their research abilities using the regulation, therefore ultimately aligning with Bloom's taxonomy under the applying level or LOTS, which asks the question, can the student use the information provided in a new way? Moving on to the second learning objective. At the end of this lesson, the soldier will be able to demonstrate the correct placement of those same awards on the dress uniform. We plan to assess this knowledge by providing each soldier with another worksheet where they will be required to fill in the blanks and distinguish various award types with the prescribed category and applicable spacing on the uniform. Once each soldier has achieved 100% mastery on the worksheet, they will be able to move on to physically assembling 3 randomly selected awards on a dummy uniform before moving on to doing their own uniform. This second assessment aims at testing the soldier's ability to distinguish between different award types and measurements, therefore successfully aligning with Bloom's taxonomy level of analyzing, which asks the question, can the student distinguish between different parts? Overall, the learning objectives, assessment, and learning strategies align with each other in the hopes of closing the knowledge gap by lowering the number of uniform deficiencies during each inspection. Lastly, before moving on, the benefits to such training far outweigh the cost, since only 3.75 hours of training are needed, plus a few low-cost materials to gain a well-disciplined and mission-ready formation.
Content hierarchy. The content hierarchy shown here provides an overview of the performance areas contributing to the performance problem of increasing uniform deficiencies. Our analysis identified two overarching performance tasks required, that of assembling awards and placing awards. The tasks outlined in red depict the performance areas where we have determined additional instruction is needed to close the knowledge gap. Specifically, soldiers require additional instruction in determining the order of precedence for unit awards, identifying the awards they are authorized, and determining the placement of awards. This knowledge will enable the skills necessary to correctly assemble the soldier's dress uniform. Flowchart. This instructional unit flowchart depicts the 5 events in the unit. After a brief introduction, we will devote 1 hour each to content delivery, practice feedback, and then the assessment. The unit culminates with a debrief. The instructional design scaffolds the soldiers from initial instructor-delivered content to collaborative small group practice with mock information, then on to an individual performance event where the soldiers will be required to exhibit mastery. The remaining slides will depict the in-depth development of each instructional event in the unit. Intro. This storyboard depicts the introductory event of our instruction. The introduction will gain the soldiers' attention and motivate them to engage in learning. We will cover the learning objectives of the course and provide an overview of the content presentation, activities, and assessment. The introduction wraps up with a brief review of previous knowledge to highlight the need for additional instruction and further engage the soldiers.
Content. Instructional strategies. Instructor delivers content with a digital slideshow and handouts, applying strategies through lecture, briefings, and worksheets, and also hands-on application. Event deliverables. Soldiers demonstrate active listening, asking questions, repeating the content presented during the lesson to express and understand the material. Practice and feedback. Formative assessment occurs. Instructor provides assessment and practice material for learning. Event deliverables. Soldiers determine the order of award precedence with 100% accuracy. Soldiers demonstrate correct placement of awards with 1 or less errors. Assessment. Summative assessment occurs. Instructor assesses through a hands-on exercise assembling simulated personal awards ribbon rack on a uniform. Event deliverables. Assess new performance outcomes and review transferred knowledge. Debrief. Event description. Instructor provides an open forum for feedback, end-of-course survey, and methods for improving instruction. Enhanced retention and transfer of knowledge happens through debriefing and after-action review, survey, reflection, and feedback.